And I saw instances where customers were on hold for 20 minutes, 18 minutes, stuff like that. And like, all right, so our mission at Call Dad is we provide fast, efficient solutions that eliminate uncertainty for homeowners across the Carolinas. That's a massive failure.
Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. I'm your host, Chad Peterman, and today I have two very exciting guests on the podcast. Both now I think we can consider each other friends at this point in time, but really excited to talk about what I think has probably been a hot topic and will continue to be a hot topic for the rest of 25, moving into 26, and probably well beyond that with all the advances that they've made. So, without further ado, would like to welcome Mr. Tyson Chen of Avoca and Matt Pozda from Call Dad. How's it going, guys?
Doing well. How are you doing, Chad?
Good. Good to have you both on. Matt was, I think, I'm going to call him a late addition to the podcast, but when Tyson told me, he's like, I think I'm going to have Matt on. I go, yeah, I've talked to Matt quite a bit. That sounds great. Be good to catch up. So we'll use some of this as catching up, and that will be good. But I think maybe to give listeners a little frame of reference, Tyson's been on the podcast before, and many of you know with their presence out there, Avoca, and some of the amazing things that they're doing. But maybe, Tyson, give us a little bit of background there, and then we'll kick it over to Matt for listeners to get a little background on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really glad to be back, Chad. It was a lot of fun last time. Since then, we've made a ton of progress, and yeah, I'd love to just share some of the latest learnings. But for folks who don't know me, I'm Tyson. I'm one of the founders of Avoca. Here at Avoca, we're building really the voice AI platform for the trades, and started a bit over 3.5 years ago. Really found the trades 2 years ago, and it's been such a blast getting to know so many folks. It's really one of the most interesting industries and so tight knit. And so really glad to be back.
Awesome. Glad to have you, Tyson. Matt, why don't you give the listeners a little background? I think the most interesting thing, not about you, but about kind of our stories is we're building something very similar, which I think is really cool. And I think we found a lot of common ground to discuss issues and how we're trying to solve problems and all of that. But why don't you give listeners a little bit about yourself and then maybe a little bit about what you guys are building down there?
Yeah, one of the few, the proud, the multi-location, same brand builders out there. So Matt Pozda, I own Call Dad down in the Carolinas. We have 8 markets across North and South Carolina. The best way to describe myself is I'm a reformed investment banker. So I was an investment banker and had a crappy experience with an HVAC, I guess. But you would know who it is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that experience led me to really start doing some research in the industry. There wasn't much back. This was 2014, 2015 timeframe. There wasn't much on the industry like there is right now. Ended up picking up Ron Smith's book, HVAC Spells Wealth. Really started diving in deep after that. It took me about 2 years before I finally found a business to acquire. Acquired that business in 2017. And then really just took this super regional multi-location approach and have been growing it ever since. So been in the industry, about 8 years now. We'll do about 40 million this year, and we're HVAC only.
That's awesome. Good for you guys. I mean, your story is really amazing. You guys do some really unique things, some things that we've robbed and duplicated, and some things that we're still considering because I think it's just such a great way to look at it and a different way to solve probably a problem that a lot of people are running into. But, today we're here on this podcast, as I said, a topic that I think is front and center with everybody and will continue to be. And, with some of the great things that people like Tyson are doing in the space for the trades, I think sometimes it can be viewed as they're coming in and these evil people are, trying to attack these contractors. And I think both you and I have embraced this mentality of, no, they're here to help. And these are really smart people. And the more smart people we can get in an industry, the faster we can lift it up and the better we can lift it up. So, being that that is the case, I guess, Matt, maybe give a little bit of insight into how you guys are utilizing, a partner like Avoca right now.
Yeah, well, I still think back to the first day that Tyson and I met, which was, I believe it was at ACA 2000.
Yeah,
Was it
I think it was
23 or 20?
ACA
I can't.
24, I believe, and
Okay, yeah.
I think we actually still they released the photo album, and there's a picture of us like talking for the first time. I think I remember coming up to you guys because honestly, I just thought you guys had the coolest looking like uniforms out of everyone. I was like, these guys seem like they like to have fun, and yeah, I think we kind of just started chatting from I think you probably thought I was crazy back then.
Well, no, I thought you were taking a practical approach. Chad just said, I think a lot of people, especially, I think there's a lot that's happened in the industry over the past few years. Like I said, back to the early days when I got in, like Ron Smith was the only name out there. And then today it's like you can't open LinkedIn or you can't open Facebook without getting pushed a million different ways. And, our head, or the way I've always viewed this business, is that of capacity, right? Like, you can call it a million different terms, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, we're managing capacity. Do we have capacity to take a call, and do we have a capacity to run the call, right? And we went to that conference trying to better understand, what options there were to look at and review our ability to have the capacity to answer calls. So we went there hoping to find somebody like Tyson. And lo and behold, we ran into Tyson, who was also trying to understand the industry. So he came in a very pragmatic approach of understanding, hey, what's important to his end user, and then what's important to actually be able to, from an architecture standpoint, be able to build and pair those two things together. So it was really you go back to that picture, it was sparks when we first met, because he was building something that we could find very practical and very useful for our business. So I can expand on what we're doing today, but that's just kind of, my view of Tyson's entrance into this industry.
Yeah, maybe I'll kick it over to Tyson. Like, so, I think I 100% agree with Matt. How do you guys view, like, Avoca's place in the trades? What role you're trying to play? Is it, just answer calls? Is it, how do you guys look at yourself? Because I know there's a lot of AI tools that maybe specialize in one thing, or, the ones, for God forbid, say they do it all. And it's like, I don't think you do it all. But like, how do you guys look at that? Or, what's kind of on your roadmap as you guys continue to develop the product?
Yeah, really good question, and obviously something that's constantly evolving. I guess to start with, maybe I'll just say, what we really focused on early on, is doing one thing really well, and that was answering calls. The reason we chose that was, one, my co-founder and I had met at the Voice AI lab at MIT, so that was already like something we knew very well, and we knew we had an unfair advantage on. But two, we chose the inbound calls because as obviously all of us know, inbound calls comprise over 80% of revenue that's gotten by trades businesses. It's the most important mechanism, and if you don't handle inbound calls well, you might as well be burning away your hard-earned marketing dollars. I will say at this point, though, and really the change, I think we focused on being the best-in-class AI call center for the first half of our company's existence. Really, this last half has been focused on two things. One is omnichannel, so not just getting leads from when a call first comes in, but be able to convert that lead into a job from all channels, whether that be text, web, speed to lead, like all the different channels, being able to convert that lead as fast as possible, so you're never losing a lead. And then secondly, the coach stuff that I told you, being able to allow CSRs to really understand what they're doing, elevate their performance. And then finally now, Matt, on that capacity management side, kind of tying the whole story together. Before you get a lead, you have to generate that lead. And so adding on the ability to, when the board is empty, in an intelligent way, be able to generate leads and fill that board so that your capacity is always ideal.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to expound upon something because we are heading into the shoulder season. We're headed into the season when your board is probably going to be a touch lighter because it's not 90 degrees outside. Tell me a little bit more about this. And this may be something you're working on, but I think it's important for people to understand because I think it's a problem we're all trying to solve, right? It's like, how do I build this team and then keep them busy all year long while still maximizing the opportunities that I have on the board? So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So really there's a few levers. You have to think about like the levers in which you can play with, right? And so really there's a few things. One is things like maintenance. Maintenance is a big thing which you can adjust. And so you want to fill your board more with maintenances, obviously when you realize that demand is going to be lower. And so Avoca provides affordances to be able to do that through accessing your members, and then even calling other lists. And then, the other thing is being able to offer promos. So being able to access lists of neighborhoods for which you think that, folks may need some service, and be able to outbound both through voice as well as other mediums like SMS offers so that you can fill up your board there. And then the final piece is being able to play with marketing budgets, things like SEO, pay-per-click, demand generation. That I would say is more in the roadmap, but stuff that we'll eventually be able to kind of also have agentic workflows to service.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that's a problem that we spend a lot of time in the month of July and early August trying to solve for the back end of August and the month of September. How are we going to solve this problem? I think we've got a pretty good plan, but yes, it comes back to how are you going to be strategically using your maintenance calls and different stuff like that to drive opportunities for your team. Matt, how have you kind of, I guess maybe tell us a little bit about your journey. Like you met Tyson a couple years ago, sparks flew, you got your picture taken randomly, all of this stuff. Like how have you guys evolved into where you are today? So basically kind of where you started to how you're using it today.
Yeah, so I think what helped me down this path was understanding that dynamic of capacity management. I think most of us look at, or most people that I've talked to when they're looking at this technology are looking at it through the lens of, I'm going to be able to save cost on CSRs. I'm going to be able to hire less CSRs. Like, this is great. I don't have to deal with CSRs anymore. Can I flip a switch and never have to manage people in that department again? And it's actually, it's quite the opposite. For us, it was an optimization opportunity. And what I mean by that, like if you look at gross booking rate or raw booking rate, depending on how you call it. So the total volume of calls that come in to a call center versus those that are actual leads. I don't know your perspective on this, Chad or Tyson, but kind of my experience is like from a aggressive but also conservative approach, like 20% would be a really good number, right? Like if 20% of your calls were actual leads and the other 80% are just random non-demand oriented calls or spam calls, all of that stuff, like 20% is, I would say, pretty industry standard, is a number that we'd like to achieve. So from a CSR perspective, if 1 in 5 calls that I answer is actually a customer who needs service, would you say that that's a productive use of my time? And the way I flip this is, if you're a tech, right, and you run 5 calls a day and only one of them is an actual house with a customer, how do you think that tech would feel? So when we talk about like CSRs and turnovers and ability to actually be productive, we're only giving them a 20% opportunity to be productive. And then we're rating them based on that 20%. It's not a very fun job, right? So understanding capacity and ability to handle calls was really eye-opening for me in the progression down this path that, okay, I need to look at CSRs as how can I get them 100% productive and then add more and specialize them so that we can better serve our customers. And what this has done, it's drastically reduced turnover in our CSR department, but it's also increased, very, very nuanced things like call abandonment rate, cancellation rate, booking rate, all these little metrics that we can talk through. But like understanding that this technology is not just a tool to mitigate people, it's actually a tool to optimize people. And I think that's a big understanding that we have to take. And then once you start to look at it through that lens, then you can make drastic decisions like we did, which is, when in doubt, go flat out. And we just, back in March, flipped the switch and went tier 1 AI is answering 100% of our calls. And there were definitely some hiccups. There were definitely some days of, getting through it, Tyson, but now we're at a point where Avoca is answering 100% of all inbound calls. They're handling, which means they're actually booking 78% of all inbound calls. And then we also allow them to transfer if they want a live family member at any time, they can transfer. So about 22% of our calls right now are being transferred outside of it where we're booking. So from a perspective of, back to my point of optimizing CSRs and making them more productive, we're eliminating the vast majority of just junk calls. And then the customers that we can book quickly, we're booking. And then the customers that need a live touch, we're able to put the best possible CSR on that call for that customer. And it's just a win-win all around.
And then that also allows you to put your best CSRs, like they're not tired out by all the junk calls. So when a really good opportunity comes, they're fresh and prepped and able to leap on top of that with minimum wait time, right? So
well, that's why I use the tech example, because I mean, Chad, could you imagine if a tech went to 4 calls where there was no homeowner home, and then you expect him to actually hit his KPIs on that 5th call? Like, there's no way. Like, he's done or she's done for the day.
Yeah, just to expound upon that point. So we don't answer. We're not tier 1 AI first. We use it in a very kind of in a strategic way. We haven't went all the way in, but AI is answering about 40% of total calls that come in. So we feel pretty good about that, and we think we can inch it up and do all that. It's catching a lot of overflow and different stuff like that. But to your point about CSR happiness, that job is not for the faint of heart, yet we think it is. And what we saw when we turned on AI, once we got over the hurdle of, no one's losing their job, we're not trying to use this to replace you, all of this, like there's still a place, we want to optimize you. What we immediately saw was our human CSR booking rate went up like overnight when we turned it on. And we went in there and we were like, why are you booking more calls now? And they said, because I'm not staring at a hold queue of all of these customers who I know are probably going to be mad that they were sitting on hold. It's like, I just have this customer to focus on. And so like, I can provide a really good experience for them because I'm not like trying to rush them off the phone. Like, yep, we got you booked. We'll see you later. They'll be there, all of this stuff. And so we could start to introduce more of how does a CSR tee up a technician for success? Like, hey, I just talked to Jenny on the phone and she was just out of this world. She is so sweet and kind and awesome. And I feel really good about doing business with you, as opposed to being rushed off the phone or something like that. So I think that's the really cool thing, is I think AI had this misnomer of like trying to take people's jobs, but it's just optimizing, because you're right. The amount of, if you look at your total number of calls, a lot of it is junk. And some of it good junk, like, hey, customer calling to, reschedule their appointment, or hey, is the tech still on the way, or whatever, all of this, but that can all be handled really quickly. But I think your point about the technician, I immediately went to like, a technician being sent another call and they end up at like Burger King. And you're like, shit, that wasn't a call. All right, next one. I close out that one. I go, maybe this next one will actually be at home. This will be great. But yeah, no, I think that's a great point.
I guess, Chad, yeah, and to your point, like to kind of add on there, that's exactly the way in which we thought about it. And that's kind of the order in which, we always put our customers first, and we always view like a lot of our greatest innovations that we make is from from what the customers tell us and understanding their workflows. Like a lot of the things like, we discovered that reschedulings were very common occurrences, ETAs, things like billing, like all of that essentially informed our roadmap. It was like, okay, now we need to make sure that our AI bot can handle this, this, and this. And exactly, like even for like we call it like revenue sensitive or not revenue sensitive. For all of the non-revenue sensitive calls, we essentially categorize them by type, and then was like, okay, teaching the AI, okay, now it can handle that trick. Now it can handle that trick. I guess, Matt, this is all actually something I'm genuinely curious at, because, in our thinking, our view is always like, in an ideal world, we'd get to this. We call it phase 1, phase 2. We were, for I think a lot of the early years of Avoca, we were in phase 1, and we're like, hey, we're gonna come to you with an AI solution that's much better than any after-hours overflow answering service you've ever had. And frankly, that bar isn't very high. So we thought, we were able to cross that pretty well by handling every call consistently with empathy and actually being able to book into your CRM. So that was always the level that, we were able to cross pretty even early on in the Avoca journey. The level that you're at now, Matt, is the ideal state, where it's like we have the AI as we call first line defense, phase 2, but it takes a ton of trust in the system to get there. And a lot of the folks that are using us are in their minds, they're wondering like, hey, when can I make that jump? And I guess for you, I'm actually curious, like, what got you the fortitude to decide one day to like finally make that jump?
Well, yeah, I think if you back up to what kicked us off down this journey, or why we went to ACA looking for somebody like you, was like looking back at our previous busy season, right? We're HVAC only, so there is definitely seasonality to our business. And, you look at metrics, and I saw instances where customers were on hold for 20 minutes, 18 minutes, stuff like that. And like, all right, so our mission at Call Dad is we provide fast, efficient solutions that eliminate uncertainty for homeowners across the Carolinas. That's a massive failure, right? Like, that is not acceptable to Call Dad's mission, to have a customer on hold for 18 minutes. But here's the nuance, Tyson, was like, I despised overflow call centers so much that I thought that it was better to leave a customer on hold for 18 minutes for us than it was to send them to an overflow call center, because they were that bad, right? So when you set like that bar that you mentioned, like that bar is pretty darn low to overcome. But that's really like that, looking back at that season and seeing those hold times for certain customers and the failure of our mission is what set us down that path, right? And then I go back to that whole capacity management dynamic of like, all right, you start looking at, Google, you start looking at some of these PPL, speed to lead dynamics, you start looking at some of these things, and really it comes back to my broken record point of capacity to answer the phone. So me understanding that I can drive down abandonment rate, I can drive down having to have different technologies that if a customer calls and we don't answer in time, we have to call them back. Like I'm sitting there trying to navigate all these technologies that, Chad, are out there to try and save those calls. And I'm like, why not just answer the phone in the first place and give a live backup? Our customers want fast, efficient solutions. At the end of the day, they'll be accepting over the technology woes that we have to work through. They want service. We're going to provide them the best service, but we can't provide them the service if we don't answer the phone. So it's like that drive that got me comfortable. But I will admit, I was up late that night when the team told me that they were flipping the switch. And it was, a tumultuous few weeks of, is this working? Is it okay? So it wasn't like I would say one thing that threw me over the edge of, hey, we need to go all in on this. I think it was the team's conviction to serving our mission at Call Dad and just seeing all the potential opportunities to better serve the customers that led us to flip that switch. So does that answer your, there's not one thing. It's a myriad of
kind
things.
of culmination. And then,
Yeah.
leaning the team on it. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know, very interesting.
Well, and I would say I would add on two things to that, just to kind of piggyback on that, is I think people's apprehension is that customers aren't going to like it. Yes, there are going to be there's a handful of customers that don't like us in general. Like they're not going to use us, and we can't make everybody happy. The the feedback that I got is when we kind of made the jump to like doing it, it was more so we looked at how many people book online. So we book about 20% of our calls online where someone literally does not talk to a single person. We're like, well, okay, so that's telling me there's a good segment of the population that just wants fast, quick, and easy. They're probably in a meeting at work. They know they got a problem. I can go online in a few clicks. I got an appointment scheduled. I'm ready to roll. So we were like, well, it's the same thing. If I can flip you to an AI agent and your call takes a minute and a half and you know that you have an appointment booked, what's the harm in that? And so we've gotten a ton of positive feedback. I think the positive feedback is the stuff that we overlook, right? It's all the negative. Like, well, what if someone doesn't like it? What if someone doesn't, this AI, this, that, and the other? And it's like, we've gotten a ton of great feedback. Like that AI, I mean, I've even had buddies who have called me and said, hey, what system are you using? Can I put this in my business because it was so efficient and so easy and so on and so forth? And I think the other piece of that where apprehension is like, well, what if they say the wrong thing? Well, what if they tell the customer this? Well, what if they do that? Well, the best thing about AI is it only has to happen once and you train it. And then all of a sudden it's fixed. It's like you have live CSRs who will make mistakes on the phone. And then you got to train that. And then you're hoping that, hey, they remember that from here on out. And so to me, it's just a more efficient way of providing really great customer service, regardless if it's AI or not. Like they're trying, they don't care who they're talking to. They want to get their furnace fixed.
We've actually used, so we call ours Abby. We've actually used Abby as a training for human agents, because there's times, Tyson, I don't know if I ever sent you this one, but there was a customer who was calling around, price shopping, right? And Abby handled it better than almost any human could. It was incredible. And the guy even said on the call, he goes, I've called 5 companies so far, and I know you're AI, but you've done a better job of answering my question. And it was hilarious. I'll send you the call if I didn't send it to you.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's and we use that as train. It's like, oh my gosh, listen to the way that it navigated this situation. So yeah, I mean, the objection is it screws up, but guess what? We all screw up, right?
So do we.
It's gonna happen.
You sent me the one where the guy was like trying to flirt with the AI or something like that.
That happens.
We got some funny ones too. I'm like, oh boy. I mean, we've had like 45-minute long calls with an AI agent, like trying to figure out something, or they may have just not been all there, or, had a few drinks or what have you.
Yeah. Even as a consumer, though, I would much rather just even, talk to something, get my problem fixed, rather than even wait 2 minutes. I think even like we've done numerous studies, and when you answer the phone in the first like 15 seconds, that results in dramatically higher booking rates than even answering it in like 30 seconds. So I think people underestimate how effective being able to answer the phone fast is. And then I always, to your guys' other point, I always bring it back to self-driving cars. I mean, I worked in the self-driving car space for 3 years. And every I remember people were like, it's never going to happen. They always make mistakes. It was like humans make a ton of mistakes too. In fact, I was in San Francisco this past weekend for a buddy's wedding. I was in a Waymo, and there was a situation that happened. It's very interesting, where someone opened the door pretty abruptly, and then one car suddenly jutted out to like avoid that. And then the other car was actually a Waymo. And so it was able to really like on a dime kind of avoid that. And it's like, there's actually, yes, there's cases where self-driving cars make mistakes. There's also a lot of cases where self-driving cars are able to do things that a normal human wouldn't even have the reaction time to do, and avoids a number of accidents get avoided because it's AI. And so I always think that that's a pretty interesting analogy, and actually has a lot of interesting parallels with the technology that we're building.
Yeah. At least the Waymo doesn't have a cell phone in their hand.
Yeah,
Makes it a little bit safer. My Lord. Tyson, tell us a little bit more about this. You alluded to it when you're kind of giving the rundown, but this coaching program. So I think both Matt and I are on the same page. I think you're on the same page. Is this is not meant to eliminate any jobs. It's more so to optimize. How does your coaching program? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So our coaching program is essentially designed to grade and review every call, so that it allows your CSRs to become the best versions of themselves. Is kind of the short of it. And maybe the next thing I'll mention is that human centricity is really at the heart of everything we do. So even our AI, I think we're actually, and I know for the fact, we're the only AI call center that actually has a team of 100 CSRs behind it, managed by call center legend Amy Spetz, who directed the call center over for Tommy at A1, and also Authority Brands before that. And so, we really view as AI and humans collaborating together. That was the way we also worked at Neuro too, where we had self-driving cars and then a team of guardians over top overseeing it. And so, yeah, I think to your point, like, there will be people where they'll shift jobs, like maybe instead of doing as much inbound, they'll move more into like sales roles, outbound, dispatching other things. But yeah, the whole idea is working together. And then I guess back to coach. Yeah, exactly. It's like, Chad, imagine you had a system that listened to your every call, and able to give you instant feedback afterwards. Oh, you should have talked slower here. You could have handled this objection better. Here was a good pocket where you should have sold the membership. That level of intense and pretty like speedy feedback will make you a lot better. And then we also correct something that's just a nightmare for call center managers across the nation, which is inaccurate call classifications and bookings. And so being able to go into Service Titan and automatically tell whether a call is a lead and whether it was bookable or not, and then whether it was booked. So those I say are the main things. And yeah, and I think you guys are just signed up for it. So excited for you to take a spin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that to me is the biggest, like, if there is an example of how to make people more efficient, you can either have your call center manager or a supervisor reviewing every call, or even more unfairly, spot checking calls. Like, well, I listened to this one call and it was really good, so you must be doing a great job. It's like, well, they took quite a few calls today. I don't know that listening to just one is the best way to judge their performance or to help them get better. What do you guys do, Matt, in the way of helping out and train the human CSR?
Well, I was going to say the other thing, not to dodge your question, but to go back to that
No, you're
point, the other nuance there, again, broken record, I don't know how many times I can say it, but capacity management. I think a lot of times what ends up happening is there's not much coordination and communication between call center and dispatch, or the field and operations management, right? So what we can do with that information, if we start seeing that a lot of the objections or the coaching points are around that of immediate service unavailable is the reason that somebody's not booking. All right, what happens now? All right, now dispatch is getting involved, operations is getting involved, because whoa, we should be booking all of these calls, right? So we can make immediate game time decisions based on the information that we're getting back from these systems to make sure that we have ample capacity. We can go into emergency action plans if the day is ramping up or we know that weather's on the way. So it's being able to utilize trends immediately, as opposed to, a week later at a company meeting, somebody's like, well, we lost this many leads because, we didn't have capacity. It's like, well, why didn't we do and deal with that real time? And now we have that data and we're constantly making adjustments to be able to flex resources. As we talk about a lot, Chad, we flex resources across markets. So it's a task and we can get ahead of it now.
One thing I wanted to double click and wanted to talk to you about it at some point. I might as well just ask you now, like, How do you guys think about that capacity management piece in the off season? Because you guys are HVAC only, what are the things that you have to do in order to create that demand for yourself in the off seasons?
Yeah, well, we maximize, getting customers when the getting's good. So I think that that's one aspect is being able to answer 100% of the calls, right?
Yeah.
We can have a higher conversion of maintenances so we can build our customer base, right? Like our one thing that we do really well is, our new customer mix, if you look at our data, is, 60 to 70% new customers. So we don't do a lot, we're playing a market share game. So for us, we don't do a lot of milking existing base. That's not what our brand's about or how we're orchestrated. So we try to maximize getting customers when we can, which is why we were willing to flip the switch on that. And then the other thing that it does, and Chad, you kind of asked this question earlier, but it also back to the specialization of CSRs. CSRs could get really good at outbounding because they're not worried about being on the phone all day or being distracted by 80% of their calls being irrelevant, right? So being able to optimize outbound when you don't have to be doing outbound is the best time to practice and get good at it, so that when you really need to dial for dollars, you can absolutely do it. The other thing that we do, and this is more of an operations answer, Tyson, and Chad, you know this, but we operate on the 4 on 4 off schedule. So that really enables us in slower seasons to kind of spread the schedule out and spread capacity out. And then the fun thing about being in 8 markets in the same brand, some markets are busier than others, and we flex resources that way. So that's kind of been our secret sauce as it relates to being HVAC only, and having to deal with slow seasons. It again, sound like I'm saying the same thing here, but it's a combination of various different things that we pull on all the different levers, depending on day and depending on time.
Yeah. And I'll add a little bit to that. I know Matt's primarily focused on new customers and different stuff like that. Obviously, we've been in business for 40 years, so we do have a large membership base. And so we do utilize our membership base to create, to kind of bridge that gap between, heating season and cooling season, or vice versa. But one of the things that I would tell listeners that I think is vastly important, and it's something I learned a long time ago, and we've gotten better and better as, years have gone on, but you have to be strategic with your maintenance. Your maintenance you have to know, and one of the questions your AI agent or live call center person should be asking is the age of equipment. And it may seem like a weird question, or what's this got to do with anything, but like, you're not going to turn over and sell a new system on a system that's 3 years old. It's just not. I mean, if you do, I got some questions, but probably not. So when you know the age of your customer base, and so like I just got a report this morning because we're prepping for September of, here's how many members we have in this market. Here's how many of those members have an old system. So we know that in our scheduling for that location, we can't put all the maintenance with brand new systems, because that's not going to set us up to turn a lead to sell a new system, which our install budget drives the ship. So we have to put enough opportunity maintenance on the board to hopefully flip that. Now, do opportunity maintenances turn at the same rate as a service call maintenance? No, it's not broken, right? But customers wanting to get ahead of it, or my system's really old and I know it's on its last leg, and hey, let's look at a new one. But we typically aim for, in the busy season, we want 33% of our total calls to be opportunities, so over 10. In the slower season, we'll ramp that number up because we know we're not going to get the service volume in. So we'll ramp that up, and we know that we can put the maintenances on there because that's all outbounding, whether it's text or phone call or whatever it is. So we'll up that percentage to like 45% of all our calls need to be opportunity maintenances because they don't turn as much, but we still need to put enough install work on our installers. And so I think that's a point as you guys look at your customer bases. How are you leveraging your customer base? Because all maintenances are not created equal. There are better ones than others. And then who are we going to put on that maintenance to hopefully turn that into an opportunity for our install team to put in a new system or do their thing. So I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. The other thing I would say that you said, Matt, that I think is so important, and we learned through analyzing the calls and why didn't we book these calls? And what we found was there were a lot of operational things where we were hamstringing our CSRs because they were like, well, I didn't book 3 leads in Louisville. And we're like, well, why not? Well, because I had to tell them it was going to be next Thursday before we could get out there. It's like, oh, well, that really wasn't your fault. That's the fact that we need another technician in that market. And so it started to influence. I would have never thought this until this year. Like, how does a call center influence operations? And it influences by telling it what capacity you need in each location, in each market. It tells you when you need a new tech. It's real simple. Like, if you see a trend, okay, let's go address this. And it's not like, oh, train my CSR better. They're not, you could put your best CSR. They're not going to book a call for a week out if someone needs service today.
Totally. I love where this is going, and just to add on a little bit more, I think what we find, and this is again stuff that we've learned kind of over the years, is that the best shops are religious about not 100% following the rules. And so what I mean by that is obviously with Avoca, we integrate with both adjustable capacity planning and adaptive from ServiceTitan and other CRMs as well. But there are override rules that we recommend that you follow, and specifically ones where we identify, and to your point, that age of equipment is an extremely important question and something that we ask every time for HVAC. And basically the idea is, like, if it's an aged equipment demand, you actually, there's a set of things you can reschedule. So what we do is, if it's an aged equipment over 10 years, always accept that job. And then we'll run another agentic workflow. We do this already, where we will then look at your board and see what is the lowest like value job, but then also understand that there's certain jobs that can't be rescheduled because they're a member and then maybe they're already rescheduled twice. So all of those things we put into the AI is thinking about, and then is able to reschedule, let's say, a maintenance that just was there for like a newer customer, so that makes room for this like high value job. So basically all I'm saying is that even with, obviously you need to improve the overall operations, probably get a new technician or two, but even with your limited technicians, there's ways in which you can optimize your call center that can still optimize the business a bit.
And I'll echo that, when we were going through flipping that switch decision concerns, one of the biggest cons was we're not going to be able to overbook the board, right? Because we like to be able to overbook the board. And it's like, all right, how does this integrate with ACP to be able to pull the trigger on that? And I think that's kudos to Tyson and his team, is, they've taken that on as a challenge, and they've worked really hard to try and get the pieces in place to be able to allow us to do that. Because, again, it's really advantageous to optimize every opportunity that you have. And if you're not able to overbook the board, number one, you're probably not managing your business or managing capacity appropriately. But number two, you're not going to be able to maximize your customer base. So it's really cool what they've done there and how they've worked through that problem.
And Matt, I haven't even told you about this yet, but we've taken another leap in that, which is we can now be able to predict, like, a few days, like obviously there's the 3-day call board kind of concept, but if we have another thing that was really cool, is like, if we see that we predict through a variety of factors, temperature being a big one, that the next day or two is going to be, you're going to get a lot of demand, we can actually see also the number of maintenances that you already have set. And if we predict that there's going to be an overwhelming amount of demand, why wait until tomorrow, right? We can start to reshuffle and reschedule in advance to make room for that incoming demand in a day or 2 or 3 days. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things. But yeah, this guy's kind of goes to the idea of, like, there are just some of these optimizations where AI is actually just a bit better at and can optimize to a more fuller degree than humans.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you can go this granular, and I don't think you could go this granular if it was just a bunch of us sitting around trying to determine, because you've got, well, I think this call is valuable. Well, why? Well, for this reason. Well, I think it's not valuable for this reason. It's like, oh shoot, we're just kind of making a judgment call. Whereas if you can have a set of rules, and this is how we judge what is a better call than this call. We've gotten into the point where, we're scoring every single call. And so your override, Tyson, what you called it, is the override is if it scores higher than the lowest call on the board. And, obviously there's some parameters, like, you're not going to just keep, because someone has can't figure out how to program their thermostat, you're just going to keep rescheduling them all the way down the thing. We have parameters that can only be rescheduled once. And so that one is going to automatically get a 5.0, and you're going to run that call tomorrow. But you may have been able to slide in a 15-year-old no heat right onto the board and get them today. And you can do it for plumbing too, like water heaters are one that it's always an override. You can override the call board with a water heater all day long in plumbing. Electrical, we got a few parameters, a weird smell, a no power, different things like that, where you want to take those calls today. And you want the ability to override the board. But if a CSR has always got to go to their manager and go, hey, I've got a customer on the line and they've got this and they've got that, book it. Like, just go for it. Like, we're running it. We'll figure out a way. So I think there's just so much of this business that I've learned really over the last couple of years. And I feel like I would give a lot of credit to guys like yourself, Tyson, who are creating all of this efficiency. And it's like, okay, if we get more efficient, we can make better decisions, and we can make more granular decisions that are ultimately going to help the business.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my friend Sebastian always uses the Moneyball analogy, but I think it's so true, right? Like bringing Moneyball into the business and really understanding things, like doing things the right way, even when they may seem unconventional, but looking at the data to make those decisions ultimately helps you, stay a step ahead of the competitors and just, be at the top of your game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt, you got anything, as we're kind of nearing time? I think we could probably talk about this for like 4 or 5 hours straight.
I'm just
because it is so interesting.
Yeah, I'm just blown away that you don't score. I bought my own Nest thermostat really high. I don't know how that's not a high score for Peterman.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, that ranks near the bottom.
Yeah. Or I've got my own mini split. Can you help me install it?
Yeah, exactly. I bought an air conditioner online, just wanting to see if you got any tips.
I have
lovely.
another quick question for you guys. Do you guys, and again, something that is on our horizon here a bit, is like, how do you factor in metadata on the consumer, as you guys are thinking about going to even doing the jobs, like thinking about the types of financing plans that you offer? Do you look at any of that metadata around like consumer, like some of the metadata that can be available around household income, credit score, and that type of stuff to make a more informed decision upon being able to prepare your text for going to the house?
Yeah, we use a little bit of it. We use it not on the front end, so it's not like a call center function, but yeah, we're looking at, what's the house worth, what area, what zip code, like where are we really successful, and what zip code are we really successful, and maybe that's going to get a higher score than say a zip code that we've never traditionally done well. It's nothing against those people, it's just maybe they're not our customers in that particular zip code or whatever. But yeah, I think more and more, I mean, I'm kind of alarmed at the data that we can actually extract. It kind of scares me a touch. But I'm a glutton for if we can make the business run better, and we're not doing anything harmful with it. I think it's good data to have.
Yeah, I would say we use it more on the proactive and reactive side. And what I mean by that is, like, from a marketing proactive standpoint, we try and use that data to target, potential customers. So there we do. And then on the reactive, we use it on the comfort advisor or the sales process, where they're educated a little bit. But to your specific question, no, if the tech and just regular demand call. I mean, I think there is some stuff that some of the, consumer finance companies do, but we're not currently utilizing that data in any beneficial way right now. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, but we're not at that level yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Awesome.
If you're in the Carolinas and you're needing some HVAC service, you now know who to call. Call Dad. They'll get you taken care of. Tyson, if listeners are interested in kind of what Matt's doing with stuff, some of the stuff that we're doing, I think he may even be a few steps ahead of us as far as like utilizing all of this stuff, which I'm excited to learn more about. And he has a phone call from me waiting probably at the end of the week to understand the success that he's had with this stuff. But Tyson, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you and your team to like learn more about the success that we're seeing with this?
Yeah, I'm always happy for folks to just shoot me a text. I'm at 717-318-0198. And the easiest way is probably just to visit our website. So www.avoca, that's avoca.ai. You can get a great demo. Finally, we'll be at a lot of the major conferences in full force this year. So you can find us at Pantheon, Home Service Freedom in just a couple of weeks over in Vegas. And then I will also be at a super meeting for all the Nexstar folks.
Awesome stuff. If I have to leave listeners with one last message, and I think we've all three articulated it, is don't be afraid of this. It's here, and you can utilize it to make your business run more efficiently. So why wouldn't you want to check it out? So, I think I speak for Matt. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us as well. I know we're both on LinkedIn and different things like that. You can find us there and ask questions. Tons of people in this industry want to help. The great part is we've probably already cleared a lot of the missteps that you may make. So I can point you in the right direction. But all in all, again, thanks guys for your time. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Look forward to, continuing together to make more advances in this area in helping contractors all over the place.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
Yep, no problem. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with me personally, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and consider joining the CSTG arena. As always, keep growing out there.